On behalf of the Sanders and extended Wallace families, I wanted to welcome you here. It is Resurrection Day. It's fitting and proper, as Mr. Lincoln would have said, that this fall after Easter. It's when we celebrate the transition from death to life, and that really is what this is about. It's about a celebration not only of Phil's life, but in the shared belief we share as community and family and friends who combine our grief with our joy. I was thinking as I was thinking about what to say of a chance conversation I had with an Anglican priest named John Polkinghorne. Reverend Polkinghorne was a particle physicist whose work created the mathematical model for black holes, and probably after Einstein was the leading physicist in the world. And he left a journey into physics to become an ordained Episcopal and Anglican priest. And he told me at lunch one day a fascinating story that I want to share with you because I think it bears on what a service like this is all about and what Philip was really all about. He was telling a story about a colleague of his at Cambridge in the particle physics world who was diagnosed with terminal cancer and was told he had 6 months to live. And he asked his colleagues to pray for him. And this man was not particularly a man of faith, and he had actually had a rough life in the last few years of his life, not only with his cancer, but his relationships with family and friends, and he was broken, like we all are, of course, just in different ways. But the people at Cambridge got together every morning at Christ Church in Cambridge to pray for his colleague, and after 6 months, at the time appointed, he died. But at the funeral, his wife came to Dr. Polkinghorne and shared the words that I think are amongst the most beautiful and hopeful and profound words I've ever heard. And she said, "I want you to know my husband died healed." Healing is not something that we experience in a biological term, but in the essence of the way God created the universe. He died healed. All the brokenness, all the pain, all of the wounds, all of the suffering were reunited in the person that God intended this man to be. That's a story of Philip's journey. It's the story of all of our journeys, right? We all share what it means to be human and to be broken and to be in need of grace and healing. And I'm convinced that whatever healing means, it's not just about whatever happens to our bodies. Whatever God takes of this being, this essence of who we are, is made one again. It's made whole again. The root word for healing is, of course, the root word for wholeness and redemption and salvation. Interestingly enough, the Latin word for healing is salvus, which is the root word for salvation. So in the essence of Philip's journey, salvation isn't a box we check that gets us into the pearly gates. It's about being made whole again, and that's where Philip is now. He's whole again. And so this service is about a celebration of that journey to wholeness, that journey from brokenness that we all experience in different ways, forms, or fashion. And it's a chance to simply fall into grace. That's what's happened now. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here. For those that don't know me, my name is Rob Wallace. I'm the fourth child of Sonny and Virginia Wallace. My Aunt Kay is Sonny's younger sister and the last surviving member of that generation. With me having three older sisters, Philip was just like a brother, even though he lived 3 blocks away. I believe my parents, Sonny and Virginia, were some of the early settlers to move into the Barton Hills neighborhood, arriving in 1956 on Oak Haven Drive, but it didn't take Kay and Phil long to follow suit. They moved just 3 short blocks away in 1962 while she was pregnant with Philip. The neighborhood grew quickly, becoming filled with young families. We all seemed to be friends or relatives in that very wonderful time growing up in Barton Hills. Many here today can attest to how special that time was, as we all remain friends today. I was searching for ways to describe Philip, but believe Kay stated it perfectly in his obituary. Although small in stature, Philip was born with a fierce competitive spirit and a keen intellect. No room for improvement there. We shared birthday parties, holidays, and many other get-togethers in the homes of our parents, grandparents, friends, and neighbors. At a very early age, we were free to roam the neighborhood on either foot or on bikes. And I had a well-worn path over our back fence through the Seeger's yard onto Oak Park Drive, where I followed it to the Sanders house on Cedarview, passing numerous friends' houses along the way. Our parents and neighbors trusted us like no one does today. I sure hope there are neighborhoods like that still in existence. The Cedarview house, like so many others in Austin at this time of transition, was recently demolished in the name of progress. But we sure made plenty of memories there while it was standing. Aunt Kay and Uncle Phil opened their home to everyone in the neighborhood, and we gathered there frequently. Numerous pool tournaments, including some with Dale Tucker's Burnett County pool hall rules, along with countless nickel, dime, and quarter poker tournaments were held there. It's a good thing they had plenty of room, as most of the Barton Hills boys were always there. When our grandparents, Nonnie and Papa Wallace, bought creekside lots in Sherwood Shores on Lake LBJ, we found a place to boat and catch fish. Our education on driving boats and fishing came from parents and their peers at an early age. Many childhood memories were made on that lake, and there are still plenty of stories to tell, but I'll save some of those for a later time. In our teenage years, we enjoyed spending time at both the Austin and Westwood country clubs. We were treated to golf lessons from Tinsley Pinnock at ACC and plenty of pool time at Westwood. Thank you, parents, for giving us those experiences. Philip loved any competition and continued to play golf and fish whenever possible, and took his love of those things until the end. There was always some trash talking going on for sure. Philip had countless comebacks to anything that someone would say, but most of them can't be said here in church. Part of the keen intellect that Kay described. When weekends weren't filled with outdoor activities, we were part of the family at First Baptist Church, where we stand today. Both of us were in the youth choir and enjoyed practicing and singing at the services. Many lifelong friends were made here. We attended Sunday school before church pretty much through college, most of the time riding to and from church together. Kay and Phil would often treat us to a family pack of Kentucky Fried Chicken afterwards, and there was plenty to go around. There are too many stories to tell, and time is short, but here's one that stands out, at least to me. One weekend, we had an overnight event with the church youth group at our family ranch in Johnson City. During the afternoon, some of us fished at what we called the lake, and Philip set a couple of rods up on the rocks to try to catch catfish. I told him he better anchor them well, or his Uncle Sonny would be mad if something happened to them. We left them to come back later. After dark, and after watching a scary movie, Philip and David Baumel took off in the blue Datsun ranch pickup and went to check on the rods to see what they might have caught. Brad Harrelson and I decided we could beat them to the lake on foot and attempt to scare them. We took off in the dark through the familiar fields we knew like the back of our hands and managed to arrive before Philip and David. I grabbed the closest rod and decided to hide it before we took to the brush to lie in wait. They pulled up in the truck and left the light shining to the far side of the lake. The rod was missing thanks to me, and Philip muttered, "Uncle Sonny is going to kill us." While they went to the far side to retrieve the other rod, Brad and I snuck behind the truck where they couldn't see and waited for our chance to scare them. They were preoccupied and had no idea anyone was there. We could hear them making their way back to the truck with Philip grumbling about being in trouble. It was going perfectly. Mind you, the headlights were blinding them while we waited under the cover of darkness in the truck. So when they came around to climb in, we sprang up and roared at them to great effect. David screamed and ran off into the night, while Philip backpedaled and landed flat on his back. Brad and I laughed so hard we cried. We finally calmed them down and drove back to the ranch house, knowing it would be a lifelong story. I think Philip is still mad at me today for doing that. College sent us our separate ways, but we still gather when possible at the Sanders Lake Place on LBJ, continuing to boat and fish whenever possible. Countless games of washers were pitched on the lawn there, and I can still hear the Phil Collins Face Value CD playing on the jam box by the water. We got just enough sleep to survive, but we sure had a good time. I have fond memories of fishing adventures with Philip at other places like the Pedernales River trolling for white bass, Lake Buchanan, Gibbons Creek, Lake Tawakoni, Purtis Creek, and Rockport. Our last fishing trip was in October 2021 at our coast house in Rockport, just days before his second major oral surgery. Something told me it would be the last of such outings. He was in pain from the tumors, but hung in there to catch plenty of fish, and all on artificial lures. Philip caught trout, redfish, gaff top, and many others, never complaining about his wrist that had recently been in a cast. We had a blast. He recently told me about another trip in December where a former client and cancer survivor invited him to Lake Travis for the day. I think that was his last true fishing trip. Those were all special days on the water. One of the great outcomes of this ordeal is that Philip and his sisters, Allison and Nancy, all got to spend the past 6 months together on a united front, fighting the good fight and never giving up. Their bond is strong and unwavering. These amazing ladies jumped right in and did whatever necessary to make him comfortable and get him to his next appointment. Who knew they would be nurses and caregivers extraordinaire? They certainly didn't, but gave it their best. They told me they all got along great during this and never argued. You ladies certainly did right by him and earned plenty of gold stars. What an amazing show of love. Thank God for great families. Kay is getting anxious on timing. So I'll close with, farewell, brother. You are now pain-free and enjoying music, fishing, and great games of golf up in heaven. We hope you know how much you are admired and loved by many and are missed every single day. And to all of us keeping him in our hearts and memories, remember the good times. Thank you.
Howdy. Good morning. My name is Joey Gadea, and when Kay called and asked if I would say a few words, I agreed. She then told me I had 4 minutes to share 59 and a half years. In an attempt to honor her wishes, here we go. I have known Philip, AKA Bonnier, Eugene, Roach, Coach, and many others. I have known Philip forever. He was born in November, and I was born in December of 1962. We were blessed to be raised in a special little place called Barton Hills that Robin told us about. I'm going to ask now, if you are from Barton Hills and you're here in the sanctuary with us, would you please rise? Thank you. This is our family. This is the Barton Hills family that we all grew up with. Thank you. Philip and I went to elementary school at Barton Hills, then junior high at O. Henry. We both graduated from Stephen F. Austin High School. We later lived together before graduating from Texas A&M University. If I were to describe Philip, several special qualities jump out to me that might help paint a picture of what he was all about. First, Philip loved. He loved his God, he loved his family, and oh, how he loved his nephews. We would talk. He would ask about Jonah and Afton, and I would allow him to brag on, and he would allow me to brag on them. And then he took over. Brian, Chance, Cole, you have no idea how much your uncle loved you and how proud he was of you. He loved you guys more than you'll ever know. He loved his friends, and there was nothing he wouldn't do for any of us or any total and complete stranger. He loved his dogs. I remember when Cowboy was lost. It was a low time. And then he found Bree. He was the original dog whisperer. Caesar has nothing on the Bonnier. He loved his university. He loved his core outfit, also known as the Filthy Fifth. In the last couple of years, he loved running his meetings and helping others with their journey for sobriety. Second, he was kind and thoughtful. Philip owned his own fishing guide service on Lake LBJ, Coach's Guide Service. And if he took a trip and his clients didn't have a good day fishing, he would always discount his rate that he asked his customers to pay. I don't know about you, but I've been on plenty of fishing trips and I have never gotten any money back from a bad day. Not too long ago, Phil and the girls came up for a consultation on a possible treatment, and they stayed with me for a couple of days in Fort Worth, and what a joy that was. The girls fell in love with my moon pod, which is what we called back in the old days a simple beanbag chair. When the girls were at the store, he had me get online and ordered each one of them their own moon pod because he knew they had back problems. Philip was always thinking about other people. Third, he was a competitor and he never quit. He loved to compete at everything. It didn't make any difference the sport. We tried to get together at least once a year for our annual Dude Fest at the Sanders Lake House. Rob Sigler and Pat Allen would come from Houston, and Jay Rector, John Kaiser, BC, and myself would come down from DFW. We could be shaking bones for some 42 or pitching washers or just a friendly bat game. Right, John? It was always on with Philip. This battle started over 4 years ago, and I've tried to find anything good or positive that has come from it, from this situation, and here's what I've found. I have seen the most selfless and incredible display of unconditional love in some time. Nancy and Allison thought they had retired from their careers. Little did they know they had just changed jobs. They had now become appointment schedulers and Uber drivers and nurses, as well as daily therapists trying to stay positive and give hope. They were also responsible for keeping all the rest of us updated with current information about Phil and his treatments. Thank you both for walking him down that road. Lastly, Philip never quit. I believe Philip had an idea that the end was growing near after that outfit weekend. I know for a fact he started wrestling with that question about having that one last beer. I'm here today to say that my best friend took his sobriety to heaven with him. Well done, my friend. I love you.
My name's Jordan Lara, and I was a classmate of Phil's at A&M. And Joe and Rob, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Can everybody up there hear me? Okay. I was asked to do this, so I'm going to do it. Will all the Texas Aggies please stand up? Or anyone related to a Texas Aggie? Awesome, beautiful. Howdy. How about that? God is good. And all the time, amen. When I was asked by the Sanders to speak at this memorial service, I was honored and humbled. I believe it was Allison who mentioned that her parents wanted me to talk about how Philip and the rest of us Filthy Fifth Aggies came to grow into a brotherhood, and the fact that I would probably bring some humor to the situation. I'm not sure whether it's my humor or my humility or my good looks as to why the family wanted me to speak. Lord knows it's hard to be humble, but when you're associated with a group of guys like this, I'm doing the best I can. As we just heard from Rob about family memories, Joey about childhood and neighborhood events, I get to start from the fall of 1981, when a group of us met for the first time in Dorm 6 on the quad in Aggieland. Our group of 22 individuals, or 23, whatever the number is, from all over the state of Texas, were cast together with no particular ties, rhymes, or reasons. Besides some pairings from Galveston, Big Spring, Pampa, Dallas, we were, for the most part, 22 18-year-olds who joined an organization with no clue on how to navigate and survive the world we had just entered. And to be honest, we were a bag of mixed nuts, rednecks, beach bums, a hippie or two, some from the big metroplexes, many from places the rest of us had never even heard of. Various backgrounds and differences, but none of us any better, more special, nor privileged than the others, especially as Fish and the Corps Cadets, the Class 85, Squadron 5, the Filthy Fifth. I, for one, had no clue that the relationships we were forging as a class, especially for the next several months while we were earning our Corps brass, plus an additional 3.5 years, would evolve into an unbreakable, lifelong bond. Displayed on our Corps brass is the Latin phrase, per unitatem vi, which translates through unity, strength. A show of that unity and strength was on display just 4 weeks ago today at the Sanders Lake House. 17 of us reunited to share memories, enjoy fellowship, and to spend time with Philip. It was a success no matter how you look at it. Those in our class who could not attend were certainly there in spirit, but were talked about with no mercy. I think Philip probably knew that his time here was short, but because of his tenacity, strength, and never give up attitude, our class mustered together to bid farewell to a brother and friend. Philip impacted so many people in every aspect and adventure of his life, like with his family, childhood friends, people from the neighborhood, Filthy Fifth buddies, students he coached, clients he fished with, and those brothers and sisters that he got it with at the Arbor. Always there for others, Philip was able to give back, offer support, counsel, and most importantly, love others. Once he learned to love himself, and with the help of the Lord, Philip became an inspiration to countless individuals. Wasn't that the plan all along? God's plan, that is, for Philip and all of us. Love God, know His Son, Jesus Christ, love yourself, love your neighbor, get your reward in heaven. We'll see you soon, Philip. Now, that's the end of my official speech. Yeah, I would like to just speculate, and can anyone here imagine the interaction of Philip and St. Peter at the gates of heaven? Right? Maybe he went something like this. St. Peter says, "Lord, have mercy. What in the world do I do?" To which Jesus answers, "Hey, I know that guy. and he knows me. Let him in. So Peter says, open the gate. We got another fighting Texas Aggie coming in. And Philip says, badass. Right? Peace be with you all, and gig 'em Aggies.
Wow, Philip, look at all these people here. Good job. Psalm 23, Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. Psalm 121. I lift up my eyes to the hills. From where will my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He will not let your foot be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. He who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time on and forevermore. And a passage from 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7 through 8. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. From now on there is reserved for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give me on that day. And not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing. Thank you.
When Jesus gets to Galilee, he has to change everything he knows. Jesus is radically flexible. What he's known thus far for 30 years is carpentry. He knows how to build a door frame, how to make a table for a family to eat at, how to do things with saws and nails. Yet Jesus goes to Galilee to begin his ministry, and the carpentry talk isn't working. We don't have any parables about building a door or a table or to keep nailing things. we have parables about fishing. Jesus knew how to be a preacher, which means he knew how to see the world around him and to speak to those in that world using their language. It's incarnation at its very best. I think before he begins his ministry, Jesus spent some time in Galilee, wandering around, observing the people. Most of life in this town happens around the sea, in boats, with fishermen who are cleaning their nets. That's where community happens. He spends a lot of time watching people in boats. Cue your image of Philip Sanders. Jesus is looking for folks to join his team, his movement, and he sees something in the fishermen. So Jesus changes his metaphors. The tools are literally put away, and fishing poles and nets are brought forth. Let me make you fishers of men. It's from the 4th chapter of Matthew's Gospel. Hear these words. As Jesus walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw siblings, Peter and Andrew, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fish for people." Immediately they left their nets and they followed him. When Jesus is looking for who's going to follow him, when he's looking for his supporters, when he's looking for those who are going to be his closest community, his closest friends, which, once again, cue your image of Philip Sanders. Friendship and fishing, I don't know that the two could be separated for him. Jesus looked at those who were sitting in boats, casting nets, cleaning nets, those whose hands were crusty with mud and moss and fish scales. Jesus looked to those men who knew how to sit and how to wait, to be patient. All fishermen know this virtue. Fishing is way beyond any of our control. It's a game of patient waiting for the perfect time. Fishermen know how to wait for day to break, for the sun to set, for the tide to change, for the bait to finally work, for the fish to finally bite. They wait for that moment that one writer says, the moment where everything is luminous and nothing is clear. Fishermen love the process just as much as they do the result. It's not just about the catch. It's about the entire day that leads up to the catch. They're stewards of time. They don't rush things. They see things and they allow life to unfold at its own perfect pace. They're the ones who are able to give up control, to surrender. It's the fishermen who are poets among us. Just listen to their stories, their embellishments. They can do things with language that we didn't know was possible. Again, cue Philip, who could text me things that were so creative with language that I was really impressed. And then he always followed up with, "Forgive me, Pastor, I don't think I'm supposed to use those words with you." I assured him he wasn't teaching me any new words, but the way he strung them together was way more creative than I could. Jesus is in Galilee, watching these fishermen, learning from these fishermen. And then it dawns on him, they would make the perfect disciples. Jesus sees in them everything that he wants for those who are going to be closest to him, following him. So one day, strolling by the sea, "Hey guys, come follow me. I'll make you fish for people. Hey, Philip Sanders, come follow me." They look up. It all makes perfect sense. What Jesus saw in them was spot on. They are the community that he needs. It's probably too obvious already, but I think if he had lived centuries ago, Philip would be one of those Jesus would have called by the shore at Galilee. Walking by, seeing Philip sitting there, fishing, pondering, telling a story, and Jesus would have seen in Philip exactly what he wanted and needed. So Jesus would have called forth, "Philip Sanders, come follow me. I'll make you fish for people." Philip would have gotten up and followed. Well, he did. He got up and followed. He followed Jesus, and he never left fishing. He could have both, so he did. And my guess is that as much as Jesus taught Philip, Philip did the same, teaching Jesus all sorts of new fishing tricks, as well as tennis, how to perform a kick serve, as well as the music of Journey and Genesis, the truths of the big book, all the Aggie customs and traditions, and all the hidden trails that he knew in Barton Hills. Philip was always the one who was getting the boat ready, which is a really important part of Jesus' following, those who are willing to do the work before the big event, those who might go unnoticed, but they're the backbone for everything that happens. Philip shows Jesus the truth of fires and barbecues and fajitas and tenderloins by a body of water. How there's something in that moment that opens up a whole new community, true and genuine, right there on the spot. The stories get bigger, maybe truer, and the world seems right for that moment. Philip reminded Jesus and all of us that the truth is not often caught until you struggle and you wait. It's the story of his recovery where the true Philip emerged after a long and faithful fight. But sometimes the best catches are really long struggles. Since he was a fisherman, I think Philip knew how to read the Gospels better than any of us. Lord knows how most of us miss the metaphors because we really don't understand the beauty of fishing. And my hunch is that there's a lot of us here today that are better disciples, better followers of Jesus because of Philip and how he followed Jesus. My hope today, my hope for all of us is that we'll keep following Philip, because I think he's now arrived at the place that all of our lives are destined to end, at that glorious first Easter, first resurrection breakfast. The disciples are out fishing again, because it's what you do if you're a fisherman. You return to fishing when things get tough. They're out fishing, and they see a man on the beach cooking breakfast for them. They squint. Could that be? Could that be who I think that is? Then one of them jumps in the water, giddy with excitement, ready to be reunited with his Lord. And he screams out to the others as he arrives on the shore, "It is Jesus, and he's caught some fish. He learned from us, and this time he has the whole meal ready for us." I think if we listen closely this moment, we might hear Philip Jr. yelling the same thing to us. He's just a bit ahead of us, and he knows that Jesus is at the shore, and he has breakfast ready so that we can be filled, and then we can get in the boat to spend the rest of the day fishing. Amen and amen. Everyone is invited after the service downstairs for lunch. The Sanders have generously provided lunch for all of us, so we hope you will stay, spend some time with them. To y'all, what I want y'all to know is that we love y'all, and we're going to keep being church to y'all. Let us help you through this journey and know how much you mean to us. I want to end this morning by doing this. I want you to close your eyes with me. And I want you to think about, what is it about Philip that you're going to take from this day, from this service, from his life, that is a calling to you? What piece of him will you carry forth? And once you have that, if you'll rise. Phil and Kay, Allison and Nancy, I want y'all to look behind you. Two truths can be held. We give him back to God, but he is also all around us and always will be. And for that we say, Amen and Amen. Thank you all for being here today. If you let the family exit, and you'll join them downstairs.